Aloha everyone, I want to introduce you to my shark teacher Roxy, aka Nani. Nani in Hawaiian means beautiful, and the reason that I call her beautiful is because she is. And Juan Sharks and I grew up swimming and diving with her, getting to know her, and eventually bringing people out with us at oneoceandiving to meet her. And sometimes they would say that she looked scary or ugly. And of course, I would gently inform them that no, she is beautiful. Instead, what is scary or ugly is what some humans can do to such beautiful and important individuals. Now, of course, people ask, why or how can this happen? Sharks are cartilaginous and heavy-bodied, and while the cartilage in their jaw can be stronger, if they are hooked on a line, a rope, or a chain and left to struggle long enough, their jaw may break open, and this can be completely lethal. Roxy was actually really fortunate that she was able to get away with just half of a jaw broken, but of course this did affect her ability to feed, and she did show that she couldn't gain weight for an extended period of time. Now, I like to believe that most fishermen are respectful, and at least here in Hawaii, if they catch a shark accidentally, that they cut the line and let them go. However, I want to mention that this is a major issue still in Florida, and there's much work needed there to help inform the fishermen that oftentimes the sharks don't survive catch and release, and that their jaws may break open, and that sharks are really important for marine ecosystems. Also, I have to make mention of the obvious tag that was inserted into her. That's called a satellite tag. I don't like those types of tags, so the individual that placed this on her would have caught her and allowed her to struggle to the point of exhaustion till she could have been brought alongside of the boat, where she would have been attached with the hook and line in her face along the side of the boat, and then her tail tied, and then possibly also a rope wrapped around her gill line, which can sometimes lead to crushed gills and injury there, as well as we've seen in other individuals. On top of all that, the dorsal would then be drilled and metal bolts inserted, and then the plastic metal heavy tag attached. And the reason that I have an issue with these types of tags, besides that some sharks die during that process, is also because they're a major point of entanglement, as we could see with Roxy and many other individuals who bear the suffering of these types of tags. Now, lucky for Roxy, she would seemingly seek out Juan Sharks and I and our boat at oneoceandiving, and we would be sort of like a little cleaning station for her. And so I'm so grateful for the people in the community coming out with us at oneoceandiving, helping to support these monitoring efforts. We're not just gathering data on population and behavior, but we're actually able to physically help out entangled sharks like Roxy, who left entangled. It may wrap around their gills, or they could get caught on a reef or something else and then either drown because they're unable to swim and breathe, or slowly starve because they can't swim off. And so this, unfortunately for Roxy, happened multiple times a year, almost every single year. And I think it's because her jaw was halfway broken open, that because it was more difficult for her to feed, that there was a lot of evidence of depredation. So she was going up to fishing gear and nets and things like that, trying to get an easy meal. Now, these are images Juan Sharks took on another occasion. That's a weighted net that was entangled on that tag. I think he got this one off of her in 2013 or 2015. And I make mention this specifically because he saved her so many times, and the bond that they had was so apparent and special. And I think part of it was because Juan Sharks himself had had metal bolts in his back when he fell 60 feet, broke 7 vertebrae, his leg, other bones, and was paralyzed. And it took him more than a year to learn to walk. And I felt like and heard him express that empathy that he had with her, because he still remains in this constant suffering and pain because of his back injuries. And to see that sort of mutual shared bond that they shared, she was definitely my shark teacher, who has been the epitome of strength through adversity and suffering, that despite what anyone does to you, if they stab you in the back or you've got injuries or anything that you're struggling with, to just keep swimming. And I would love to watch how she would just get so excited to see Juan Sharks and actively seek him out and seek out those interactions. It was just such a beautiful connection. And I was really humbled that she would actively seek out me as well and trust me to remove the fishing gear from her time and time again. And I knew that it was painful for her. And so I would do anything that I could to try and help her out. So sometimes that satellite tag was so heavily encrusted in biofouling, which would have also interfered with its performance. And so I would scrub the tag to try and reduce the drag. And I would introduce her to as many people as I could at oneoceandiving and educate them. And so she was part of our conservation briefing about the impacts of fishing and marine debris and seafood choices because of bycatch. And she really became this face for why we need to protect sharks here in Hawaii. And like the many sharks that I was so grateful to have grown up with, I wanted her to have protection from my shark ohana. So with the growing community that we had and the wonderful people, we headed down to the Capitol as many times as we possibly could. We met with politicians and we submitted testimony time and time again. And we were eventually successful in getting this bill passed into law, but it took a lot. It was constantly rallying in social media and dropping everything, changing our plans to rush down to the Capitol from the other side of the island and getting as many people as we could to come testify in person, committee after committee. I'm so grateful to the wonderful people in the community who really also helped to spearhead this and join us and speak up for those without a voice, and all the diversity of approaches to making this bill become a law, to become reality. And this is what needs to happen for sharks all around the world. And I would love to see this for the sharks in Florida. And truly helping to educate people about this process is so important. And so I've got another video about the process, at least for states in the United States. And this is so important for sharks and also future generations. So thank you so much to the wonderful supportive community, everyone that wrote in testimony, everyone that joined us. And we were successful. But Roxy at one point did disappear, and we thought maybe we were too late, and I just wish that we could have gotten her protected sooner. And then, much to our relief, she finally showed back up, but she was emaciated and so skinny, and she had that huge hole bore into the side of her, and I knew that she had become entangled again and was chafing and rubbing and fighting to get away. But the good thing about it was that she had started to break apart that satellite tag. And so I knew that she was swimming up to us, maybe needing help. And it was just so good to see her slowly start to pick up some weight and start to break off that old satellite tag. And I felt like she was swimming by on a pretty regular basis to sort of show us her healing process. And it was just really neat to get to introduce her to so many people during those years while she was healing. And it was so wonderful to see the energy that I had never seen her have before as she started to heal up. And I felt like she was, once released from the bulk of that tag, ready to sort of move on to her next life cycle. I was seeing a maturity in her that hadn't been seen prior, as I had seen with individuals like Kalihi who were actually even younger than her. And so as she started to pick up weight and I saw her sort of growing into her age, I was just invigorated and further deeper inspired. And that's why she really has been my shark teacher, and just showing me that strength through adversity and to keep swimming despite all odds. During her healing process, she would point out plastic to us, and we introduced her to so many people, including she helped me train many of the biologists that came to learn how to be safety divers with us. And so we passed on her story to them so that they could pass it forward to the many wonderful people who joined us. And as she healed up and started to gain weight, I remember there was a day that, like usual, I'd try and keep the biofouling off of her tag and I'd check her for entanglement. But I remember there was a day that I took a scrub brush and I was going to clean her tag and help reduce that drag. And as she swam by and it was just the bolts, which are still concerning as a point of entanglement, I realized, wow, she's getting really thick and the bolts are actually quite clean. And I kind of had this feeling like maybe she doesn't need our help anymore, And the interactions became progressively even more gentle. And I could sense that she was no longer as desperate as she seemed in the past. She wasn't starving. She'd really adapted to her injury. And without the tag as the point of entanglement, I even thought maybe she's pregnant. I was so excited for her. And it is pretty normal that at about this life stage that, or this size more so, because she should have probably gone for a longer migration by this point, that some of the females will migrate to the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, possibly during gestation. And so I'm hoping that she's swimming off, making her baby Roxys at this point with her pups. And it was just beautiful. I felt like almost like some of those last months where she hung out with us, it was like she was ready to go. And I wanted to encourage that and saying goodbye to Juan Sharks and I. And I will always be grateful for her lessons and always think of her in challenging times and be grateful for the many memories and all of her visits almost every single year on my birthday and at Christmas and special occasions. It felt like to me like she was always there, like part of the ohana. And so I hope that she's well, and I hope more people can take inspiration from this and maybe find their own Roxy and inspiration to help pass laws around the world, to speak up for those without a voice, whether it be in person in legislation or in social media, to help take her lessons. And if you want to learn more about Roxy, she is one of the sharks that I dedicated my first book, What You Should Know About Sharks, to. And of course, she's one of my greatest shark teachers. You can check that out in my latest book, My Shark Teachers. And I'll do more of these to share more stories of the other beautiful sharks that I've been so grateful to have grown up with. And I want to say thank you so much to the community, everyone who has supported the passing of the bill, both here in Hawaii and around the world. So mahalo nui loa, thank you so much, and best wishes to you.